This is episode number 9 with author and co-founder of Miss Jessie's, Miko Branch. Hair, beauty, and self-love. Hi, I'm Gabrielle Jordan, young entrepreneur, #1 best-selling author, international speaker, mentor, and your proud host of the UV Effect podcast, where each week my industry-leading and thought-provoking guests and I will be sharing motivational advice, insightful tips, and inspiring stories that will help you to define your personal and professional unique value and discover the effects it can have on your life and the lives of others. So, without further ado, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another episode of the UV Effect. I'm glad to see you, I guess hear you. I'm glad to have you on another episode. Thank you for joining me. And I'm really excited because my guest for today is an amazing woman, and I'm pretty sure she's pretty well known by you curly hair or wavy or kinky hair girls that are in my audience today or that's listening today. She is the co-founder of Miss Jessie's, the kinky curly hair experts. And they definitely are experts. I have many of their products. I use them all the time, and I'm pretty sure many of you use them as well. She is an amazing woman. You might have heard her speak. You might have read her book. And if you haven't, then you've been missing out. But now you get a chance to hear about her and to hear her story and to hear the amazing advice that she has to share today and her knowledge on hair and her knowledge also on really when it comes to the issues that actually surround a lot of the hair community, specifically for African American women. We're going to be discussing a lot about that today in this interview because I do think that there is quite a bit of an issue when it comes to how African American women look at hair and the types of issues that come along when it comes to self-love and when it comes to self-confidence and really being able to appreciate what the hair that they have, because it's often marketed in the community that, you know, curly hair or nappy hair, as it's called, is not beautiful, and that, you know, you'd want your hair to be straight. And, you know, there's lots of different stigmas about it, even the comparison between two different people's hair types, and just there's a lot of issues there. And we talk a bit about those deep-rooted issues, and we talk about, you know, what's good about it, what's bad about it, how we can improve, how we, you know, how to look at this scenario, and how we can kind of work together to become better and make sure that we are at least loving ourselves to our maximum capability, because we know that it is hard to love ourselves sometimes. We are imperfect and we have our issues, but we talk about what we can do to love ourselves more and to love our hair and love, you know, what makes us naturally beautiful, what makes us uniquely beautiful. We also talk about her story. We talk about the loss of her sister, TT Branch, and what she had to do in order to get through that terrible situation, through that tragedy, how she was able to push through and how she's able to be as successful as she is today, even with such a terrible thing happening to her in her life. And I have to say that Miss Miko is very inspiring. I met her twice before. Once we were receiving an award together. Another time I was seeing her speak at an event. And, you know, I've talked to her before and we've spoken, and she's actually bought some of my jewelry before. And she really is an amazing person. And hearing her in this interview today, you're going to feel so much from just how she speaks and not just what she says, but how she says it. It's just very impactful, and you can just kind of feel that everything she says, it comes from her heart and comes from the deepest parts of her heart. She's very amazing. And I'm excited for you all to hear about her and to hear her. But before we get into that, of course, I need to give hear the message from our sponsor, the Market Simple Summit. This summit is a one-day interactive summit designed to help small businesses and marketing and communications professionals to learn easy and executable marketing, sales, communication, and social media strategies to help increase exposure and maximize profits. The summit is developed into 16 powerful sessions that you can choose from, separating into 2 tracks: basic, intermediate, and advanced workshops that will explore the latest and most comprehensive tools, tips, and tactics on how to market, sell, and communicate effectively. Do not wait. Early bird pricing ends soon, and for a short time, you can use the special code UV Effect. That's all caps UVEFFECT to get $100 off your conference registration. So do not wait. Register today at imarketsimple.com. That's www.imarketsimple.com. And by the way, I actually will be the opening speaker for this marketing summit. So if there's no other reason to go than these 16 powerful sessions and the amazing workshops that'll be happening, then go for me, because I'll be opening up the I'll be opening up the conference and being the opening speaker. So, but I definitely suggest that you come along. It's a wonderful event, and you will learn so much. All right, so let us get into this episode of the UV Effect podcast. Be sure to like and share and comment on the website, on YouTube, wherever you want to like, share, and comment. You can also make sure to subscribe on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitchers. And all right, let us get into this episode with Miko Branch. Let us go. Welcome, Miss Miko. Thank you for joining me.
Oh, it's so great to be here, Gabrielle. Thank you for inviting me.
I am so excited to have you on the show. I remember meeting you, like a year or two ago at an event, and we both won an award there, and it was really nice to meet you. You are such an amazing person, and I'm just excited to hear more about your story and some of the views when it comes to unique value and the different things we're going to touch on today. So, without further ado, we'll just jump right in with the first question. I want to know a little bit about you. First of all, what really inspired you and your sister getting into the hair care company? What was the motivation behind that? Why did you start?
Well, I think I was fortunate enough to partner with my sister, Miko Branch, and we were able to step into the beauty business together. That was definitely a plus. But way before our partnership, I was blessed with a God-given talent, and I'd always been attracted to beauty, and whether it be hair, whether it be makeup, whether it be clothes, anything beauty, I was always attracted to it. So it wasn't uncommon for everyone on our block in Jamaica, Queens, to get their first hairstyle done by me, because I not only was I visually attracted to beauty, but I also had a great way with my hands. I had a great dexterity, and with that, I was able to eventually join the beauty business. So it was the perfect place for someone like me to excel. So before partnership, just that love and desire was something that led me toward the beauty direction.
Wow, that's really cool. And I mean, you started, how old were you when you kind of were getting into the swing of things when it comes to doing the people in your neighborhood's hair and everything?
I think as early as maybe 7.
Oh, wow.
It wasn't uncommon for my play dates to also include hair and makeup.
That's
and
so cool.
I had a lot of fun with the Gabrielle, and that was probably, if you wanted to play with me, you definitely had to let me do some kind of dress up or some kind of something, related to beauty.
Your friends love that.
Yeah, and then we could be good friends.
I'd be cool with that, actually. I'd love you to do my hair.
Yes.
But okay, so that's really cool. So you really started off really young, kind of having a knack for this hair thing and for beauty, and you had an eye for it, and I think that's really interesting. That's kind of similar to me as well. I was 7 when I started making jewelry, started teaching myself how to make jewelry. It was that same kind of like instant love for it. As soon as I saw one piece of jewelry, I automatically wanted more and more and to do more with it. So I understood where you're coming from there. That's really cool. So you started again with your sister Miko Branch. You started the company, and you guys were pretty young. How old were you when you started?
When we first partnered in the beauty business, it was around 1996 or late 1995. And our partnership was a little bit different. Titi opened up a repping agency, and she repped photographers, um, any kind of artist. And the name of her company was Icon Creative Artists. She repped for maybe a year on her own, and then she decided that it was a good idea for us to get together and do something. And to her surprise, to my surprise, I was her most profitable client. And one day, Titi landed me a job with Ashley Stewart, which is a retail chain for full-figured women.
Right.
And for 1 week's worth of work, I made $8,000. And with that money, we decided to go ahead and open up our first hair salon. That's how it pretty much all began, with our partnership in the beauty business, and we built slowly from there.
Was that difficult jumping into, such a large industry when it comes to hair? Were there a lot of other competing hair salons around? Was it like a difficult transition?
Well, we were a mom and pop shop. We opened up our first salon in the Boerum Hill section of Brooklyn. In Brooklyn, there's probably a salon, maybe two salons on every block in
Oh, wow.
Brooklyn. It seems that way. So we don't have a shortage of salons in Brooklyn. But I think what's unique about the salon industry in Brooklyn is that everyone is offering something either the same or then something completely different. And in the beauty business, it's so personal, so there's room for all of us. What might work for one customer may not work for another, and it's really a personal choice. So we decided it was okay for us to open up our salon. We did that, and it was a two-chair salon. And within the first month in business, we made a profit, and we understood that there was something here. We should stick with it.
Yeah. That's interesting. Only two chairs, but you made a profit within a month. That's actually really good. Um, I'm wondering, in that kind of jumping into this and starting this hair salon, where did you guys get the confidence to kind of go for it? Was there any initial fear when jumping into it, and where did the confidence come from to move forward and to keep pushing?
Well, ironically, there was a mixture of fear and confidence going on at the same exact time.
Hmm.
Titi and I were raised by a dad who thought it was very important at a young age for Titi and I to understand that we should be independent women and we should be in charge of our own destiny. So that was just something that was always told to us. And my dad, I would say he would shame us if we aspired to work for someone else. So that was kind of something that was always around us. And during the time when we got that seed money, that $8,000 from the Ashley Stewart job, it was actually Titi who insisted that we take that money and we do something really meaningful with it. And that meaningful thing was, let's open up a storefront salon. At the time, Jordan, I was terrified because I had been doing hair in our shared apartment on Atlantic Avenue. We had a loft on Atlantic Avenue in Brooklyn. And I was really scared. I didn't want to fail. The beauty industry at that time was mostly my thing. Titi had, before we partnered up, Titi had worked in broadcast. Titi had done everything outside of my industries, but I experienced a lot of fear because I didn't want to fail. But it was the partnership with my big sister that gave me confidence to do it. And slowly but surely, I saw that that was some of the best advice she ever gave us. And I'm so glad I listened to her. But it was Titi Branch who gave me that extra push.
And that's amazing to have, been able to have someone there that you could rely on and that could give you the confidence that you needed to push forward. And I do want to talk a little more about her in a little bit, but before we go into that, I did want to ask, when it comes to this, the growth that you have of your company, how you got from the two chair a hair salon to where you are now, having stores, around the country. That's really incredible to jump so much and to have sold so much of your products and to do what you're doing. And I'm sure that a lot of it is owed to
the uniqueness of your brand when you, especially when you first got started, you were doing hair for, curly hair girls, and for minority girls with, hair that, you don't normally, that most beauty salons, I would say back then, didn't really know how to handle, but you were doing that there. And I think that was very, I mean, I would assume, if you can tell me if I'm wrong, but if did that have anything to do with the success that you gained with your company?
I think that that played a huge role.
Mm.
Tiki and I were pioneers in a
Mm.
beauty
Yes.
industry that had already been long established. Tiki and I came up with solutions, real solutions to primarily women, um, to some issues or some problems or some challenges they may have been having with their hair.
Mm.
What was extra challenging for Titi and I was we were marketing to women who didn't know they had curls.
Mm.
So,
Wow.
yeah, we truly were pioneers. So, if we were to experience some success, we would really, I believe, we would have experienced it in a big way because we truly blazed out the trail. So it was something that we were passionate about, particularly me. At the time, my ideas and my understanding and my relationship, that the relationship that I had with my hair was changing. I was a new mom,
Mm.
and I could no longer maintain straight styling for my hair anymore. So I had to embrace more texture. And ironically, when my clients saw me, they wanted to get that same look, and it didn't take any time for me to become expert at curls, kinks, and waves, and then eventually we took it from there.
Yeah, and you guys are definitely experts. I mean, I use I use a lot of your products. My two favorites are the curly pudding and it's the after shower gel, I believe it is, or like
Leave-in condition.
what's it called again?
Leave-in condition.
No, no, no. It's the one that you can just put in your hair once it's like you come out the shower, and you don't have to do anything else with it. After when you're
Sounds
after the
like,
shower.
yeah, that sounds like a lot of our products.
Yeah. Okay.
But curly pudding is a special
I
product.
love that
It's
one.
actually the first product that we went to market with, and
Mm.
it's purple and it's fabulous. I
It is
love curly
so
pudding.
good. Oh my gosh, I can do so much with my hair with that. And I know I had a lot of struggle when I was younger with my hair, in the sense, not as bad as a lot of people do struggle with, comes to their image, and when it comes to their hair, especially African American women. I didn't have too much of a struggle, but I did oftentimes question if my hair was like pretty enough, because I have natural curls, and they're hard to maintain. They can get really dry and get really, I guess, nappy quickly.
Hmm.
And I mean, I did have a struggle with, like, if it was pretty enough, or if I should just wear it straight all the time. And I did at a few points prefer straight so much more than my curly hair. I thought it was so much prettier and so much nicer. But I was able, actually, with a lot of with your products were some of the ones that I worked with, to kind of get my hair to the place where it was manageable and gorgeous the way I wanted it to look, and really gained a lot of confidence in my hair when I was using your products and a few others. But I do owe to a lot of that from to you and your company, because it's really great what you do with the curls, and how the product really does maintain these beautiful spirals and these beautiful looks that, it was so difficult for me before. And if you guys ever look on my Instagram, you can scroll down and see how my hair was before I figured out how to use it. But your products are definitely really amazing, and they work so well. You're definitely experts in that. That's pretty incredible. And actually, along those lines, I wanted to ask, or point out, so in the hair industry, there definitely is, um, I would say, a lot of subliminal messages, in the sense, when it comes to African American women, where they're not really focused, or what they try and say is that straight hair is prettier and is nicer, than, nappy hair or dingy hair or even curly hair, and kind of talk about it in a sense where you should just replace it with a weave, or with, a relaxer, or whatever it is, like that. And I think that's really difficult. I know that's very difficult for a lot of young girls. I've known plenty of my friends that have struggled with, with their hair journey, and trying to figure out, really to embrace their hair, and to love, their hair, and love how they look. And I think it's pretty sad to me to see that in this community that we're kind of being told that what you have naturally isn't pretty enough. And so I was wondering, what are your views on that? Do you have any views on that? And how do you think a young African American woman, or even a minority woman that is struggling with their hair and that they're not getting what they need from the media to feel confident, how do you suggest that they face those struggles and kind of embrace their natural curls or their natural hair and all those different things? What do you think about that?
Well, I hear two questions from you, and the first question is, what are my views on how the media influences our image of ourselves? Is that what you want to hear about? Well, Gabrielle, that's what we built our whole business on. We were so passionate about it during a time in the early 2000s where many women of color actually didn't know that they possessed curly hair. And I'm here to tell you, I don't make a distinction between curly, kinky, wavy in terms of what's best, what's good, what's better, what's not. But I do know that many women of color didn't realize that they had curly hair.
What do you mean by that? They didn't realize they had curly hair?
I think, yeah, I can explain. I think at a very young age, many of us may have had a hot comb put to our hair. Many of us may have had relaxers, which are chemical treatments put in our hair to straighten it. And many of us as adults were not acquainted with our God-given texture. And my discovery at bath time with my own hair was that I had the best hair in the world. And that wasn't always my opinion of my own hair. My mother is Japanese American. Her hair is straight, long. And not only did I think my mother was aesthetically beautiful in her features, in her face, I also thought that her hair was beautiful. And I came from my mother, and I wanted to emulate her. But there were some differences between myself and my mother, physically, aesthetically. I had kinky hair. My mother did not. My complexion was different than my mom's, and there were a whole host of other differences. And when I looked at myself through my mother as a mirror, I questioned, was I pretty like her? Luckily, I had a dad and a mom and a family who always reinforced that my sister and I were not only physically beautiful, physically pretty, we were also pretty in our minds and pretty in our hearts. And that's something that, when we're talking about the exterior, we always need to add that interior. That also helps to balance it.
Absolutely.
But had I had products like Miss Jessie's growing up, I think that would have helped a tremendous amount in just terms of maintaining my hair. But back to the self-image, I think that many of us as young kids, because our hair were straightened either chemically or thermally, we might have been told intentionally or maybe unintentionally that our hair was maybe bad and not good. So maybe our grandmother might have told us, go put a hot comb to your nappy hair.
Yeah.
It didn't mean that she didn't love us, and I'm not specifically talking about my grandmother, but I've seen it happen in families, and or just the application of a relaxer at a young age might imply that there's something wrong, that something needs to be changed. So, with things like that happening at a very early age, I can imagine by the time someone is a teenager, by the time someone is an adult, they might have a bad self-image in connection, in relation to their hair. So fast forward to Miss Jessie, and my discovery at bath time with my own hair was after having to embrace it because I didn't have the time or the money to straighten it, I realized that I had the best hair in the world. And what made it easier is some of the styling methods that I came up with at salon level, and then eventually, of course, curly pudding. Products like that helped and Miko, Titi Branch, and Gabrielle to embrace our hair and also explore more possibilities, because our hair can do so many things. Our hair is not just one way. So Titi and I quickly discovered all of the possibilities, and luckily it came, our discovery came at a time that women were talking on the internet, and very soon it went viral. The discussion about what you can do with your hair, the discussion of women having this wonderful texture and these wonderful options with their hair, I think that conversation changed the opinion and the mindset of our hair and our relationship to it. And now the conversation looked and sound like this. Hey, my hair did this when I did this style, or my hair looks like this. What does your hair look like? Hey, I tried it on my sister and her hair looks like this, and now I'm going to try it on my daughter. Hey, I have these old straight ends and I want to cut it, and I want to see what my hair looks like if it's all completely, in its natural state. And with the support and the aid of the internet and pictures and videos, that conversation just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And I don't really think we were paying attention to getting rid of some of the negative experiences or the negative images or self-images we had of our hair, or maybe of your hair or someone else's hair. I think what was happening is we were so enjoying the discovery of our own hair and the possibilities of what it could do, it just took over. And that's how women now prefer to wear their hair in its natural state. Women preferred. They got a chance to see on the internet, on the street, or even in the media that they might look better with their hair in its natural state versus them trying to emulate someone else.
Yeah.
And with the aid of products and with the aid of styling solutions, we were able to uncover all the different possibilities, and it's still going on to this day.
I mean, yeah, there really is quite a bit of a change happening when it comes to women and girls even embracing their natural hair and their curls. Maybe it's because it's easier to work with it rather than, pay a bunch of money to get their hair relaxed or to put weaves in and to get that fixed. But, or maybe it's just, as you said, because they've been seeing the beauty that can actually come from your hair and what you can do with it and all the different styles that there are with it, and that it's not just one way, that you can try it and mix it up and try different things to see what you can create with it. And I think that is happening. I just want to make, a big thing for me is that with a lot of young girls, they'll see the videos and they'll see pictures and things like that, and maybe they think that they can't do that to their hair or whatever it is, and they start becoming less confident in themselves because, their hair doesn't look this way and it's not as pretty as that person's hair. And of course, I think it's natural. We kind of do just compare ourselves to other people. That's what we kind of do. But I think something that's important is that young girls do get the opportunity to, just as you said, see what can be done when it comes to their hair, and how it's not, how you have your hair right now doesn't have to be how it always is. You can try different things. I just want to make sure that they do see that there is possibility and that that they can develop some kind of confidence in it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. And when I listen to you, I'm hearing progress. I'm hearing women comparing themselves to other textures. I'm hearing women comparing themselves to something that's similar versus very dissimilar.
Yeah.
So texture, comparing your curls to someone else's kinks, or, I hear progress in that. Where before the unattainable may have been happening with a woman with a tightly coiled curl or kink is comparing herself to a woman with very straight hair. They're just two completely different textures. So I do hear progress there. And when we're talking about the possibilities and when we're talking about managing expectations, I believe that there is room for a woman not to completely embrace what God gave her, and that's okay. Sometimes we don't like our eyelashes. Sometimes my eyelashes are very short. I wish they were long. I don't think that that's a form of self-hate. And then there's other features that I have that I truly love. So I mean, it'd be wonderful if we're happy with every single thing we got. And God bless you if God gave you that package. But some of us have some things we like, and then there's other things that we don't like. But there are methods and there are products now when it comes to our hair where if you don't like your natural texture, maybe you can do a double strand twist to elongate your natural texture, or maybe you can implement a different texture in your hair by simply doing a natural style. So there are solutions, and I think that that's good news.
Definitely. I like what you said, that you see progress even in the comparison of curly hair to kinky hair. I think that's a good way of looking at it, that there is a progression happening here, where even though there is still, of course, that comparison happening, it's I guess more relatable in a sense where it not as drastic as straight hair to tight curly hair. But I do like that you kind of pointed that out, that there is improvement. I think we continue to kind of enforce positive message of loving our natural hair, and playing around with our natural hair and having fun with it, and not just turning to changing it completely, but rather trying to manipulate it in the way that you want to wear it, or to enforce these messages of having self-worth and having self-love, and inside and out. I think we can continue to progress forward in this avenue, both in confidence when it comes to outward confidence, and even in inward confidence as well. So I definitely see what you're talking about there.
That's great, and I think what we really have to keep in mind is this is new discovery. We've had long periods, we've had long periods of time where some of us weren't ever acquainted with our own hair texture in our whole lifetime. You understand? So this discovery of hair and options and solutions and new product offerings, it's new discovery. So as we move our way through different styling methods and different products and new conversations, maybe one day we like a tightly coiled curl, and maybe the next day we want a more elongated curl. It's something that's moving and it's changing, and I still look at that as progress, Gabrielle. And in the learning of this new phenomenon, because for some of us it is new. I went mostly all my life not being acquainted with my own hair texture. But within this new phenomenon, I think many of us don't know that natural hair is not that easy.
No.
I'm talking about in rocking your hair in its natural state, it probably will take more time than if you had a relaxer.
True.
But I feel like women think that it's worth it to do a big chop, or worth it to transition to see, to be reacquainted with what God gave you, to see and put yourself in the position to be able to say, do I like my hair? Is there something that I want to manipulate and change in its natural texture? Or do I, in fact, want to go back to a relaxer? We want to know. And that, too, represents progress to me. But back to natural hair. Natural hair is not easy. And I'm talking from a hair care. I'm a hair care provider as well as a product maker. Natural hair is not easy. You have to double strand your hair. That takes a lot of time. Combing your natural hair because of the volume and bulk, that takes a lot of time. Washing your natural hair probably takes triple the amount of time that it would if your hair were relaxed. If you don't like your hair to be shrunk up and you're living in a humid environment, guess what? You're going to work so hard to keep your hair in its natural state and elongated at the same time. So there's many challenges, and I'd be the first one to tell you it's not easy, but it's so rewarding because, again, our hair, it can do so many things, and I'm one of the people who think it's worth it. There might be a day, Gabrielle, that I might want to wear my hair straight every day. I don't think that makes me a bad person, and I don't think that makes anyone a bad person. I've seen people go natural and attest to the fact that it doesn't work for me. I'm going to go back to relaxer. Maybe my lifestyle doesn't really support natural hair. I have to wake up maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. I can't double strand twist it. I need my hair to look a certain way every day. And the reasons can go on and on. So it's a new discovery. The good news is that many of us are peeking our heads in to find out what our natural hair can do. And we're talking about it. We're experimenting with product. And the good news is it's just hair. And we have styling options. And now with this great discovery, we have even more. So that's how I'm trying to communicate hair and trying to take the edge off, because I know it can be very emotional.
Yeah. And throughout this, like what you're saying here, this whole conversation here has really kind of triggered a lot of different aspects of unique value and what kind of message I'm trying to convey with unique value. And though, yeah, has to do with outward and hair, but it does really have to do a lot with inner beauty as well, and also understanding your inner gifts, as in, your natural, okay, just trying to, like, relating this, as you were saying, your natural, your God-given hair. And, people struggle with their hair and maintaining it and loving it and working with it, and we also struggle with comparing it with other people, and those things just sounded so similar to the internal struggles that we basically all have when it comes to embracing who we are as people, what makes us stand out, what makes us special. And we are given gifts. I think from the time that we are born, we are given gifts. Some people are able to unlock it or see it early, and others have to go through a lot in order to discover that. But nonetheless, we are all given these natural gifts, and we struggle sometimes with embracing those things and using those things and loving those things, because we compare it to other people, or we compare ourselves to other people. And just as you were saying all these things, it really did tie in this unique value in the sense of how it can be a difficult struggle. It's not easy to, in this day and age, and I think probably it's always been not easy to be completely yourself and to be so proud and happy with yourself, because there's all these different distractions and all these different types of forces and pressures of society that try to tell you to be something else or to do something differently. But it is important to take the chance and take the time to figure yourself out and figure out what you can do for yourself in order to understand who you are, and then in order to love who you are, and then embrace those things and bring them to the world. So I wanted to say that because I liked that connection that had. Even though this had to do with hair, it still has quite a bit of a connection when it comes to your inner confidence and your inner self and who you are. So I just wanted to mention that because I think that is really interesting how that connection goes.
I know that's great that you're pointing that out, and certainly during a time of social media on Instagram, and we're seeing the best of everyone's moments.
Yeah.
We may not see those moments where you may not feel that great or you may not look that great, and looking at someone else's Instagram page, and maybe too much of that for someone who doesn't have the personal development might also put a lot of pressure on the individual. Definitely. When it comes time to assessing who you are and moving from that point, particularly as a young person. I know we all can be very impressionable. I have a son, and I try to really make him understand that be you, be yourself, really build that out. And, you can make really good decisions if you build who you are, build that out. So it's really important during this time when we're looking at other people in their lives and we have this intimate look. But I do believe that we need to put that into context, put it into proper perspective, and we're probably seeing the best moments,
Definitely.
So, yeah.
That's very true. And people, and like you said, putting in perspective, realizing that, it's definitely people's best moments. People don't really put out, their worst moments on social media. They don't want people to see that. So I think when you are, scrolling through social media, or, you're looking at all these different things, it's important to kind of try, even though it can be hard in the moment, especially if you're having, you have low self-esteem or low confidence, to try your hardest to not compare yourself to a picture, not to compare yourself to a video of somebody else, that to focus on, if you're going to compare yourself on, doing something amazing, or like some, a successful person in the world that, you aspire to be like, or something like that. If you're going to compare yourself so that you can, reach out to do more for your personal life, and to do wonderful things, and, with what you want to do, when it comes to your career, or whatever it is, because I think we need to try and combat those type of pressures, and those types of I would say the way that we kind of want to fit in. We need to kind of combat that, in a sense, with something that's more positive, more productive for our minds and for our lives. And that's why I owe a lot I owe a lot of my confidence and my self-worth to my business, because of starting this company. I have something, when I compare, it's about comparing, oh, this person did this business tactic and I liked that, so let me see if I can work with that, or they did this, that, and the other. It allowed me to grow in confidence in who I was, because I wasn't comparing myself, and I'm not comparing myself so much so to the people that, their hair or their makeup or their legs or whatever it is, but rather focusing on what I can do with my life, rather than what I can do with things that I really can't change about myself when it comes to a person, with how tall you are, or, your nose looks like, whatever it is, but more so the things that you can work on, and the ways that you can grow that are productive and positive to you.
Yeah, I think that there's a difference between comparing and being inspired.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I think that there's something really wonderful about looking at someone and liking what they may have done, and wanting to do that, or maybe put your own personal brand, to something that you saw that inspired you. I think that that's part of influence, and that's part of growth. Sometimes we don't know what to do unless we see it. And I think that there's a difference between being inspired by, or comparing to. And sometimes it's confusing because it overlaps. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, if there's self-love, because some of us say, I really love myself, but I hate my big toe. I mean, those two can exist in the same space.
Yeah.
And you might see someone with something that you like, and you may not have it. There is a space for, I don't really like what I have. So if someone is short and they see someone tall, there actually are things you can do. If you're a female, you can put a heel on, and maybe you can experience height in that moment. Or if your boobs aren't as big as you like, maybe before you do some surgical enhancements, maybe just buy a push-up bra. So there are things that you can do if you don't like everything that you were given. And I personally don't think that there's anything wrong with that. And I think in order for you to want to change things, or maybe want to enhance, or pump something up, I think that you need to first see it on someone. Like you have a great lipstick on today, Gabrielle, and I would never choose that color for myself. I try to stay with nudes, but you know what? Hey, I'm going to try that because it looks so great on you. And I think that's less of me comparing myself to you, and it's more of me being inspired by how pretty it looks on you. And the reason why I'm able to make the distinction I'm inspired and not comparing, is because I do love myself. So with that foundation, I think that we can be out here and see something and emulate it, and add our own twist to it, and make it our own. I think that's wonderful. It's inspiration.
Definitely. And I like what you were saying there, in that sense of, it is okay to not, like certain things about ourselves, because we are imperfect, in the sense of how we feel about ourselves, and we nobody, I don't think anybody really thinks that they are perfect and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with them when it comes to physical. I mean, maybe someone is, I don't know,
I've
but
met people who it appears that
yeah,
they think that everything's perfect.
yeah,
It's my understanding. It's my understanding that I don't think we're all perfect. And I don't know that that really exists, but I think that there is a such thing as self-love,
yeah.
and I believe that one can love themselves, including all the imperfections.
Yeah. And I think a part of that is really being able to, is being self-aware, and really being honest with yourself with what it is that maybe you don't like about yourself, or really looking at those things, looking it in the face, your insecurities, because I think when you try to ignore those things, they just fester and grow, and they dilute the self-love, and it just turns into self-hate. But if you are aware of the things that maybe you don't like about yourself, but also are aware of the things that you do like about yourself, you're able to get a better sense of who you are, and to appreciate who you are, rather than just to ignore a half of who you are, if that makes sense.
I think that's a great point you're making, and it's something that I actually did in my business, and I was able to become a successful businesswoman by embracing something that wasn't exactly celebrated in my family, which was beauty, as a business. My mom and dad didn't see my vision, and they weren't that supportive in the early days, but I loved it. And luckily, I had the support of a loving sister, and I was able to excel at it. And we're able to feed our family off this beauty business now. But it was something that I was actually shy to share with my parents when I told them that I wanted to go into the beauty business. But luckily, I had just enough confidence to stick with it. So glad I did, and we're all happy about it.
That's really good. I know that has to be difficult, where people in your life that you love and care about, you hope would support you in this type of area. Not everybody can, and I don't think that's a bad thing, so to speak. That your parents didn't quite see your vision. Not everybody can see what you see. Not everybody can see your hopes and your dreams, can relate to it. But I think it's really great that you decided to still keep going with it and actually prove to them what it is that you want to do. I think that's a big thing when it comes to developing confidence in yourself and confidence in what you do in your life, is that you don't go, don't make decisions based off of one person's opinion or two people's opinions or even the world's opinion. I think that it's important to try certain things with, of course, being calculated. My mom says this thing, you're making calculated risks. So you make calculated risks, but at the same time, not really allowing everybody else's opinions to make you think differently, or make you decide to do something different, or make you think that this is not possible. I think you should focus on what it is that you feel. If you feel like this might be a good idea, then try it, but be smart about it. And so it's what you really did. That is what you did with you and your sister. Even though your parents didn't quite see it, you still went forward with it, but you were really smart about how you grew your company and doing what you did.
Yeah, and then there's another scenario where someone might have a vision and they don't get support, and they go forward with the vision and it flops. And that's a scenario that can happen, and it actually happens more often than we think. And we beat ourselves up, and we deal with the "I told you so's." And it's really not that serious. If you do something, if you didn't plan it out right, it's actually going to be more wisdom for the next go round. And some of the decisions and opportunities that we're going to go after are going to work, and some are not. And sometimes our family and our friends are going to tell us, "Hey, don't do it," or "I don't like that," or "Don't go forward." We're going to listen to them sometimes, and other times we're not, and it could go either way. And what I'm saying to you is that whichever way it goes, good or bad, embrace it. Embrace it and move forward.
Failure can often be a good thing, because it's something that you can really learn from. It's something that we shouldn't really be too afraid of when it comes to it. I used to be very afraid of failure, but at this point I'm not really afraid of it, more just aware of the possibility of it, if that makes sense. So we shouldn't be too afraid of it. We shouldn't of course take it seriously, but don't allow, that kind of fear, or don't allow even the failure in of itself, when you do fail, to consume you and to make you think, oh, I'm not going to ever do it again. Because that's something I often say, is that failure isn't when you mess up, it's when you give up. So I think you take that mistake or that thing that you did, learn from it and try it differently the next time. Do something differently the next time. Learn from what you did wrong, and that can kind of turn that failure into a success, nonetheless. So yeah.
Yes.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about you and your sister, and specifically how you were able to kind of move from that point of when your sister sadly passed away, to where you are now, and how you were able to really transition, and how you were able to push, and how you were able to do all these different things. And a big reason why I'm asking is because a boy that I was actually mentoring, he lost his mother and his younger sister a few years ago. And I mean, I had no idea what to say to him. I didn't think there was anything that I could say, because I had never been through something like that. And I mean, that it's just so tragic to lose two key people in his life, because his mom was actually his manager as well, and his sister helped a lot with the business too. I mean, these were key people in his life that he loved. And with you having lost your sister, that not just your sister, but also your best friend, and also your business partner, that is tragic. But you have really been able to inspire so many people that maybe have gone through something similar, who's lost people, that maybe just gone through any kind of struggle. You've been able to inspire them, to show them that there is life after tragedy, there is possibility, that there is still a future. And so I just wanted to kind of get your side of the story, in a sense, to hear what that transition was like, how you move forward, how you were able to keep moving forward even through that.
I believe that everything that has happened was ordered and planned, not by me, but by God.
Best answer.
And whether I like it or not, it was meant to happen the way it happened. The good news is that I had a chance to spend over 4 decades with Titi Branch. And in that 4 decades of time, I was able to be taught, mentored, loved, and so many more things from my sister. I got a chance to see a woman of grace, of beauty, of intelligence, up close and personal. And I believe my sister all along had been grooming me for this time in her absence. I believe that the time we spent building our business together, raising my son together, being best friends together, being roommates together, being partners together, being failures together. I think all of those experiences were meant to be. And if we're talking about me, they were meant for me. It was meant to happen that way. And although to this day, Gabrielle, it's still hard for me to understand and accept that concept, I realize that I have to. And I realize that God gave me everything that I needed to be able to operate, continue, and function in Titi's absence. And I believe it's a combination of my experiences, my will to want to go forward, my training from my sister, and God. I think those three ingredients have put me in a position to keep moving forward, and I'm thankful.
That's a beautiful answer. I think that was so perfect. I think, because I think what we kind of have an issue with, I mean, as a society, honestly, is kind of this imaginary control that we think we have over everything. We don't. We don't have control over many things. We barely even have control over ourselves sometimes. And to realize that your it's not your hands working everything. It's not your hands that's molding your life. It's not just your hands that's doing what you're doing, but it's also the hands of God, and that you're able to accept that and to see that is beautiful, and I think is so necessary. You know, for some of my audience here, you may not be believers or anything, and I've said in my very first podcast that I am a Christian, and I will be talking about God, and I will be talking about my religion, because it's such a reference for me in the sense of where I am today and where you are today, that we wouldn't be where we are without him, and for the things that maybe we never thought would have an impact, it probably had a big impact on where we are standing right now. So I think that is really amazing that that's what you're taking this. You're looking at this, that it's supposed to happen. Things are supposed to happen for a reason. That's something I strongly believe in, and it can be terrifying though, because you don't really know what's going to happen next. But it can be helpful to know that it's happening because it has to happen. So I think that's beautiful what you said there.
Yeah.
So I actually, to talk a little bit about your book, which is called Miss Jessie's Creating a Successful Business from Scratch Naturally. And I wanted, that the book has to do with your life, as well as like business tips for entrepreneurs and helping them to grow in their entrepreneurial journeys and things like that. But can you tell us, what was the reason that you wrote this book? What was the inspiration behind that?
My sister Titi and I thought it was really important to write a book and share our story. It was actually Titi who thought it was time. And we had become expert curly pudding makers and expert hairstylists and hair experts in curls, kinks, and waves. But we thought that with our success, with inspiring women to go natural and embrace their curls, we thought that we could also inspire women to be their own boss. And sharing our experience was the best way we knew how to do it. Sharing our story, we hope, would inspire other people, not just women, to do it. Titi and I did not have formal training. We didn't go to business school. We had no angel investors, no loans, no special contacts. But what we did have was our God-given talent, and we had a wonderful partnership. Family businesses don't always work, Gabrielle, but Titi and I had one that did, and we partnered up, and that partnership served us well in areas of not having any money. But we had each other, and we were able to build slowly but surely. And with that slow build, we were able to build an empire. And we believe that there might be more folks out here who don't have means or the proper education, but our message, the large message of our book is, if we can do it, you can do it too. So our book came out in 2015, and I'm still touring for Miss Jessie's, creating a successful business from scratch naturally to this day. So I'm very pleased about it. I know Titi is too.
It's incredible, and I actually have your book. I meant to bring it down so I could show it. I've actually read a little. I haven't read it all yet because I'm getting to it. I like to read a few books at one time, but I have been reading a little bit of it, and I think it's really great. Like the stories, and then that you shared, even the advice and the information that you put in the book. It's really just this great combination of I would say maybe a little entertainment, but it's also knowledgeable and insightful with what you bring there, and I think it is very interesting what you have in the book, and I definitely recommend getting it. We'll be having the links to your website down below, as well as where you can order the book, because I definitely recommend the read. And Miss Miko, is there anything else that you want to share? Anything that's coming up that you want to talk about, or anything like that?
Well, we are Miss Jessie's. We're a hair product company, and I'm so excited right now. We're formulating more wonderful product to share with you guys, so stay tuned. And I'm working on our second book because the first book was just wonderful in the writing of it, but also many people love it. And I think people just want to know what happens next. But more product for sure, and also another book.
Awesome. I know my viewers will love that. I know a few of my viewers are Miss Jessie fans, so I know they're gonna love this interview first of all, and love to hear that there's new products coming out too. Thank you so much, Miss Miko, for joining me. This was amazing. I really, really enjoyed talking to you.
Oh my God. I thank you so much for inviting me. And I just wanted to tell you, Gabrielle, I'm so proud of you. I met you around maybe a year and a half, and we're going on 2 years ago. I saw you for the first time. I wear the pearls that I got from you at that event, and they're beautiful pearls, and I'm very inspired by it. And I think I'm going to see more Gabrielles out here. I feel like I'm going to see a whole new crop of young entrepreneurs. I know that many of them are watching you, and I'm proud of everything that you're doing. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of the UV Effect. If you like what you heard, be sure to share and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Gabrielle Jordan Inspires. Also, be sure to subscribe to the UV Effect podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud, or Stitcher. And I will talk to you next week. See you then.